spend a couple of minutes really focusing on the investment aspect of aggregate demand, because this really does confuse many students, because investment is used in so many different ways in everyday speech. As I've said before, when a lot of people think about investment, they think about putting money into, say, buying a stock or a purchase of a piece of land that or a house that you think is going to go up in value. It's trying to profit over time from some purchase of an asset. This is not what we mean about investment in the national income accounts. Now, it's a shame that these two concepts have the same name, but there it is. When we talk about investment in the context of national income accounts, it is spending on capital equipment, inventories, and housing. So let's spend a couple of moments thinking about what capital equipment might be. Let's say a new machinery, a piece of machinery for a firm. Okay, they have invested in a brand new computer for a new server, for example, for an online company. Okay, that is a good. It's a server that is going to be used in the future. This is going to provide goods and services over time. It's long lasting. So if you build a new factory, that's also part of capital equipment. Capital in this term, in this sense, really means physical equipment. Inventories, purchases on inventories are included in investment. Now, what do we mean by inventories? If you walk into a store, you expect to have stuff on the shelves awaiting your purchase. So a company, a firm, will purchase goods today for possible sales in the future. So it's a good that's going to be used in the future. So these inventories, this pile of stuff in the back room, is considered investment in the national income accounts. And just out of convention, housing, new housing, is considered investment. And when I say housing, I mean like a house for a family. Family of four goes and buys a new house. That house, the construction of the house, is put into investment because it provides services over many years. Now, critical to understanding a lot of the macroeconomic consequences of policies is to keep in mind that investment will typically fall when the interest rates go up. Why is that? Well, the short and sweet of it is that much of the spending on capital equipment, inventories, and housing is on borrowed funds. Okay, most people don't go in and buy a house with cash. Most people don't expand their factory with cash. Many businesses don't buy inventories with cash. Those funds are borrowed. So if it's more expensive to borrow funds, it's going to tend to decrease investment. So when interest rates go up, investment tends to go down. So by convention, this little I is interest rates and the capital I is investment. So you'll see that in many different contexts. So when we talk about the impact, for example, of monetary policy, and especially in a Keynesian world, an increase in the money supply is going to decrease interest rates. Now, we'll talk about that in much more detail later. But if you increase the money supply, which lowers interest rates, that is going to encourage investment by private companies and individuals who are borrowing. You'll have more investment. So, very critical to understand how that increase in money supply affects interest rates. We're also going to talk about a situation where if the government is running a budget deficit, spending more than it's taking in terms of tax revenues, and there's increased borrowing to fund that deficit, we will see when we talk about bond markets and interest rates that an increase in borrowing by the government will tend to raise interest rates. If you have more borrowers, you're going to tend to increase the price of borrowing funds. Those higher interest rates will tend to reduce investment. So what we're going to see in a lot of different contexts is that when you have a change in policy that results in different interest rates, one of the principal mechanisms that will affect the economy is how that policy changes interest rates and then affects the investment